From the Australian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, just delivering the message, I guess, from business, which continues to be that they got nothing out of the budget last night. In fact, great disappointment at the failure to follow through with the promise of the 1% cut to company tax. We were just a few moments ago speaking with Bloch from Mercer, who is with us still from Melbourne. Joanne, thank you very much for holding on there. I don't even think you got two sentences out. We were talking about the changes that have been made to superannuation, but mostly really to high income earners, and just trying to get to the bottom of what's really wrong with that, because the wealthier are the ones most able to afford any changes to the hip pocket.
Look, that's correct, and as I was saying, the government clearly stated that it has always wanted to equalise the benefits of the tax concessions, and they've always felt that high income earners have had an unfair share. And putting that aside, I do need to emphasise that superannuation does still remain a very tax-effective wealth accumulation strategy. So even with an increase in the tax rate from 15 to 30% on contributions, in many circumstances it's still going to be the most effective investment strategy you can use. And bearing in mind that the earnings rate has remained at 15%, once you've invested your money in super with an earnings rate of 15%, you're still getting benefits. I think the issue that's concerned the industry and will no doubt concern high income earners is that this income level is very broadly defined, which means people on packages of around 200,000 plus are going to have to think about their total remuneration benefit. And I think the other issue is that this will capture people who may receive a redundancy or a windfall gain in some way, shape or form as well. So it's not just confined to those people who today have an income of more than $300,000. That is definitely one thing to note. I think the other thing to note is that the tinkering, as many people across the community have called this, doesn't do much for confidence. And what is really critical is a long-term retirement income strategy where all Australians have confidence in the system and where Australians don't simply look to each government and say, well, what are you going to do about super now? And I think those are the issues that we as an industry are going to have to grapple with, and we're going to have to maintain the course in terms of super, but executives are certainly going to have to review their remuneration packages. People on high incomes overall are going to have to review their remuneration packages and really take a close look at them.
Yeah, you make a good point, and this is why it's good to speak to you, because we can sit and whinge and complain about what was in the budget and what we think should or shouldn't have happened, but when it comes down to it, what do you do about it? So just go back a little bit. You were talking of packages even above 200,000. Why are you bringing in at that level, say, or just go into some of the details of the kinds of considerations you think employers and employees should be making?
Sure. So a lot of people on higher incomes tend to package up their remuneration where you might have a fixed component, which is a salary, and you might have a variable component, which might be a bonus or other types of benefits, a motor car, car parking and so forth. All of those issues where they relate to income are actually captured in the definition of $300,000. So it's not just a question of having a salary of $300,000, it's a question of including all the benefits in your remuneration package, which means that it cuts in potentially under 300, and it may cut in, as I mentioned earlier, for people who get a one-off windfall benefit of some sort, or in fact a redundancy benefit, for example, where their income in that particular year exceeds the $300,000, and they too will obviously be taxed at the higher rate.
How much negotiation do you think companies will be up for? You know, even given the fact that we know that the superannuation contribution will have to be raised from 9 to 12% in the coming years, and I think businesses always felt that that was kind of on them to really make up that difference as well.
That's right. Look, it is a big impact on companies, and the other area I'll add is that global organisations who have dispatched people from their organisations to work in Australia are also going to be affected. Yeah. There's quite a few issues like the living away from home allowance and some of the superannuation tax issues that will heavily impact people coming in from outside Australia. So companies are certainly going to have to have a look at their overall remuneration packages, and they're going to have to talk to senior people about structuring their packages effectively, but I would say not to drop superannuation necessarily, because it does still remain very competitive, but there is no doubt that people will be looking to alternatives, looking at other ways of investing disposable income, of getting improved outcomes, and of positioning their particular finances. Superannuation for high income earners has received a little dent, if you like, and people are going to have to evaluate how big that dent might be to their particular circumstances.
Yeah, and potentially, you know, take control, do something about it, make sure it doesn't affect you too much is what we're kind of saying. Joanne Bloch, thank you very much. Great practical commentary around the budget today, thanks. The Australian market, let's go back to that, a 0.8% drop we're sitting on at the moment, 42.79. We're looking at some key levels on the local market too. We're not far off the 100-day moving average support line, that's 42.52 for those out there who like the